Hello, brave time travelers. I'm Courtney, and today we are going to look at one of the most impressive archaeological discoveries in Chinese history. It is a set of 65 bronze bells discovered in the tomb of a high-ranking man who lived in South China around 2,400 years ago. This spectacular set of bells is a discovery that I like to describe as a technical and artistic tour de force, which is just another way to say it is a really, really, really magnificent set of bells. This grand set of bells was excavated from the tomb of the Marquis Yi of Zeng in the 1970s. Zeng was a small state in South China during a period in Chinese history when China was divided into a number of warring states or kingdoms, which is why we refer to it as the Warring States period. Zeng was such a small state that no one wrote about it in historical records, so we didn't even know it existed until Marquis Yi's tomb was discovered. Just imagine how excited the archaeologists were when they discovered this tomb and a previously unknown state. Marquis Yi was a wealthy aristocrat who lived in the 5th century BCE. A marquis is a title for a high-ranking nobleman, and in this case, the marquis was the leader of the Zeng state. Zeng was a vassal of a larger state called Chu, which was ruled by a king. A vassal pays tribute to a more powerful state, so as a vassal, the marquis likely paid tribute to the king of Chu so that he could maintain power and control over Zeng. The king of Chu must have been closely acquainted with the Marquis Yi of Zeng because he went to the marquis's funeral. How do we know? Well, the tomb contained a surprising list written on strips of bamboo that recorded the names of everyone who attended the funeral. After the marquis's death, he was buried in an elaborate, multi-chambered tomb made of huge logs of wood that were fitted together using mortise and tenon joinery, which means that the log pieces fit together perfectly, kind of like Lincoln logs, but way more sturdy. There were 4 rooms, including an armory for weapons, a bedchamber, a banquet hall, and a room for his servants or musicians. The banquet hall was the biggest chamber, and it held gorgeous bronze vessels and over 100 musical instruments, including zithers, a drum, a stone chime set, pipes, and the magnificent set of bronze bells. The bells are suspended from an L-shaped rack that has 3 tiers. The rack is crafted from wood, painted with red, black, and yellow lacquer. Lacquer comes from the lac tree, native to China, and was an expensive material. More expensive than bronze, because it was difficult to work with and it was highly toxic. You've probably noticed that the bells range in size, with the top tier being the smallest and the bottom tier being the largest. The top tier was likely only used to tune the Marquis' orchestra of instruments. In other words, they were not musical bells. The middle tier was played by 3 musicians holding mallets from behind the rack, and the bottom tier was played by 2 musicians holding long poles. The mallets and poles were found in the tomb with the bells. The marquis's bells were not clapper bells, which have a metal piece called a clapper that hangs inside the bell and makes a sound when the bell is swung back and forth. Instead, the marquis's bells had to be struck on the outside to make a sound. Each bell is perfectly tuned to play not just one pitch, but 2 different pitches. If you strike a bell in the center, it plays one pitch, and if you strike it to the left or right of center, it plays a second pitch. You can play any song on this grand set of bells that can be played on a piano. Only dinky tiny clapper bells were being made in other parts of the world in the 5th century BCE, so this set of bells is truly extraordinary. Now, let's take a listen to the Hubei Chime Orchestra play on a replica set of Marquis Yi's bells. Now let's talk about a few interesting visual features on this set of bells. Look at each end of the rack on the bottom and middle tiers. Bronze figures with sheathed daggers at their waists hold their hands up to support the rack. Neat feature, right? I also love how 9 of the largest bells on the bottom tier are supported by bronze tigers that hang over the rack. You might have noticed that one of the bells on the lower tier doesn't match the others. This is because when the king of Chu came to the Marquis Yi of Zeng's funeral, he gifted this new bell to the Marquis to take into his afterlife. We know because this bell has a long inscription on it. We assume that the king of Chu was gifted the original bell in return by the Marquis' living relatives, but we can't be sure what happened to it. All the other bells have inscriptions in gold on the front that read, "The Marquis Yi of Zeng made this. Cherish it," which might explain why they were found in this tomb. He loved this set of bells he used while he was alive so much, he wanted to take the bells with him into the spirit world in the afterlife. That's all for today, travelers. I hope you enjoyed our journey into ancient Warring States China to learn about one of the most magnificent set of tuned bells made in human history.